Hey, Mama. Welcome back to the Mom Walk Collective podcast. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Ari, and we are two moms trying to navigate motherhood. Okay, guys, we took a break and now we're back. So welcome back.
Welcome back. It has been a doozy the past few weeks. Lincoln and I were really sick, and then we started sleep training. And
Mm-mm-mm.
big wow. Wow.
You
And
guys need
then,
to go to Jamie's Instagram stories and just go back. I think you're going to make a highlight of all the stories you posted, right?
yeah, if you go to my Instagram, which is Jamie Easton and two N's at the end, that I have a story highlight of each day of sleep training. Ari's about to start sleep training. I can't imagine what it's going to be like with twins, because for me, I was only dealing with one baby. So, one baby, my only challenge is that we share a room. So, I have a room divider that I bought to essentially separate off his own section. But there was one night that he cried from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. And after that day, I literally was like middle finger to the whole world. If you ask, Ari can probably even vouch for like how my attitude
Yeah.
was the next day, because I literally was like F you to everyone. Um, but since I was tracking my sleep training journey on Instagram, I had so many moms reach out to me, and if I hadn't heard from them, I probably would have been out. Like, I was so done. I was like, this is dumb. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to watch him cry. Like, this is no. And but all these
Jamie
moms are
was
like, stick.
on the roller coaster.
Yeah, I was. But I had these moms, like so many, like my DMs were flooded every single day. Like, I was looking at how many people were watching my stories, and it was in the thousands that everyday people were tuning in to see how Lincoln was sleeping. And I was having 50 plus moms every day message me being like, it's worth it, stick to it, we promise you, we know it's so hard, like, do what's best for you. There's other ways if you're having trouble with this one method, but like, we promise you, day 3, 4, 5, 6, like by the sixth day you'll be thrilled. And then the next night, Lincoln ended up sleeping 6 hours straight and only took him 2 hours to go to bed. Now, victory tonight, I literally put him in his crib and he fell asleep within 2 minutes. Is that not crazy?
It's pretty amazing.
It's crazy. So
It's
Ari's about to do it with the twins, because you guys are having more difficulties having them together, correct?
Well, so when we originally talked to the sleep consultant we're working with, I was not sleeping because the twins were doing super well. And then all of a sudden we had family staying with us, yada, yada, yada. And then just took like downward spiral. So since then, in between now and hiring the sleep consultant, we've like gotten them pretty much on track with their night sleep. They go to sleep within 5 minutes. Um, but what we are hiring her for is for two parts. One, to help us make sure that they sleep a full 12 hours rather than currently they like to wake up at like 5, 6 a.m. And I'm like, no, please. I can't even have like, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to try to have a morning routine once we get them to 12 hours. But really, I would just love to sleep, honestly. Like that sounds magical. I'm like a 10-hour sleeper, like if I can. And then two, Graham only takes his naps in a carrier. So we want to get him into the crib and like really figure that out. And so we've thought what like why not put this on an expert to figure out like how we can solve those two issues. And so more to come on our story.
I love it. Well, stay tuned, because we'll probably have her on eventually on the podcast, so you guys will get to hear from an expert about sleep training. But today's episode
Dun
is,
dun
wow,
dun.
traveling with babies. So Ari and I have both taken trips with our kids. I have only done within the US. Ari has taken her babies internationally. So we want to talk about just what that experience was like, also babies in different environments, what were the setback, what were things that we could prepare for. So, Ari, if you want to talk, have you taken, let's talk about just flying with babies in general. Like, what were some of the things that you prepared flying with babies?
Yeah, so when it came to flying with babies, first of all, you don't realize how much stuff you need to travel, even if you are a minimalist. It is insane because you not only have to travel with like your luggage, and like I'm like a carry-on girl, like just carry on, don't check it. No, things are getting checked. So you have
Mm-hmm.
like if they don't co-sleep with you, which our twins don't co-sleep with us, we wouldn't sleep. Just to be honest, they would be like kicking and scratching us. And so we had to travel with like their travel bassinets or travel cribs. We had to just the whole packing was like a whole week long of like me making sure we had everything. I even have a packing list of like
I
what needs
love
to
it.
happen, like of how many quantities we need for like a 6 day trip or something like that. That way I can always go back to it and tweak it based on where we're going, but it has everything so I don't miss it. And I highly suggest that. If you ever need to see my packing list, it's like one of my Apple Notes, I can send it over to you. It saves us because otherwise things would get missed, especially because you're packing things that like they might need until you leave. So like if we're leaving early in the morning, they're going to need their sound machine like until then. Like we bring their like Hatch sound machine
Yeah.
with us because
You
they're like
have
please
to. Oh my
sleep.
gosh. Yeah.
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 Um
It's
so
so
that's my big
interesting.
thing is like
Well, no, it's
have a
interesting
list.
hearing how you, like, it's how every person, like, there's the person who packed for a trip like a week prior, and then there's the night before packer. So, like, hearing your whole list, but you were also going somewhere that you couldn't buy supplies, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've taken them down to Mexico, which like we weren't going to buy supplies there. We were pretty much like in a little surf town, so nothing really available. And then we've taken them up to the Bay Area, which there's tons of stuff, but like when you're up there for a limited amount of time, like sometimes you don't want to like spend your time going to the store.
Yeah.
Um, when we go up there, like my parents will try and prepare if like we give them things that we need to get for them to get, which is great. Like sometimes the people I've heard like will Instacart diapers so they don't have to travel with diapers. Um, which is super smart. Instacart that, Instacart your formula, whatever you need. Fantastic that you don't have to travel with it.
Yeah, that's what I end up doing. So the only trips I've traveled with Lincoln twice on a plane. Um, And one tip that my mom actually instilled in me, like when I was really young, is every time we pack, she Ziploc bags every day. So when we would travel as a young kid, my mom would hand us, like, if we were going on a week trip, she would hand us like 7 Ziploc bags, and then she would give us 3 extra for like emergency outfits or whatever. So, like,
Mm.
everything. And she's like, okay, like, here you go pack, go put your outfits together. Even if I didn't wear them, like how I labeled it, of like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever, I would have outfits pre-packaged, like ready to go. Um, and then she's like, she got super savvy, and she would get like a vacuum seal bag to like squish it down. Um,
Oh, I like
and then
that.
like pack like really tight. So then we could do carry on, or like we could pack multiple people's like items together. So I did that with Lincoln. Um, and we were just traveling to Idaho to see my dad. So I actually was the person who like didn't do all of this stuff. Like my dad's like, "Oh, you should bring a monitor, and you should bring this, and you should bring that." And I was like the worst. I was like, my biggest thing was, did I want to take my stroller, and did I want to check it,
Mm.
or did I want to take it to the gate and all that type of stuff, or did I want to have to like figure it out, like ask to borrow. They have like car seat rental services usually in most cities, of like, do I want to rent a car seat when I get there? Do I have a friend that has an extra car seat that's in Idaho? Does my dad know someone? It ended up working out for me. One of my dad's employees, just their kid just outgrew their car seat, so I didn't have to bring a car seat.
Wow.
um they also provided a stroller for me, so I didn't have to bring a stroller.
This is
Um,
not normal, guys.
literally so not normal. But what I realized is there's such a benefit of bringing your stroller to the gate because you have so much hands free. Because
Mm,
then when I was going through check, through which, and you probably did, you and Ian probably did this. And I don't know if you encountered it going international, but if you're flying domestic and you're wearing your baby in a carrier, they
mm-hmm.
don't make you have to like get undressed or get them out or anything. In a stroller, you do.
Yep.
Um, so if you're traveling with a baby, like have them in a carrier or a wrap or something like that that's on you, it makes like a huge difference. And they also just treat you a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I had for lucky for me traveling, like I packed like a few diapers for the plane, like just in case. I had like two extra outfits, kind of like an elevated diaper bag. And then for me, it was a lot less stressful to have to think about all those extra things of like, I don't know, diapers and wipes and this and that. And I sent my dad a list of things that I needed. So I said, and he
Smart.
said, okay. He picked me up from the airport. The first thing we did was we drove to a Target. I got everything I needed for the week, and then had that there. And that saved so much for me on the packing end. Where things then didn't work out as well, since I wasn't as prepared as you, that is where Lincoln's sleep got so weird. So
Mm.
before he was sleeping in a bassinet, we couldn't find a bassinet, and I was like, whatever, like I'll just bed share and I'll co-sleep. And Lincoln learned that he could nurse all night, and that is when he started not being able to sleep alone. And so those trips um
Oof.
messed with a lot, because even too, like, I know this sounds really crazy and maybe someone who's listening this lives in an area that is similar, but Idaho, like if you don't have a sound or like a sound machine or a fan or anything going where I live, it is dead silent. Like you are hearing legit crickets outside. Like you hear the crickets going at night, or you hear like the birds in the morning and all that type of stuff. And so that was another thing that I wish I would have had been a little prepared for was full on packing the hatch sound machine, or because I literally had like my phone on like white and brown noise, like super
Yeah.
close to our heads, like
Yeah.
to make sure that it was going to work. Um, but I think in the future, I would either buy like an Amazon travel white noise or something, because I was like, oh my gosh, these crickets are like nuts.
Okay, I have a really funny story about when we didn't bring our hatch sound machine and we're like, no problem, we can use our phone. So we did that, right? Did that. Well, all of us are on the same Spotify account. So I was hanging out with my little stepbrother and I was like, oh my goodness, he was like, he had sang the rap song like Billie Eyelash, whatever it's called. I call her Billie Eyelash, but it's it's something
Billie
else.
Eilish.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's a rap song, right? And I'm like, man, it's not playing on my phone. It was playing on Ian's phone.
Oh.
And I go to the monitor and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And the babies are like, like blasting rap music in the middle of their sleep. They did
That's
end up
so
sleeping
funny.
phenomenal that night. So that was great. But yeah, I will say, I was listening to you and like going to the store and picking up what you need. I will say, when you do travel with, um, you know, luggage for the car seats, you need car seat bags, just FYI. But the car seats take up so little space in the car seat bags that what I did was I got packing cubes and I basically just threw packing cubes to fill up the space, because when you travel with baby gear, they don't charge you and they don't
I
check to make
know.
sure that like it's just a car seat in there. And so, yeah, it's extra storage if you'd like it. So, just
Yes,
heads up.
I that is such a good tip. I actually saw a mom um just recently on TikTok who did that. She was going to New York and she didn't even bring a suitcase. She
Yeah.
packed everything she needed like in the car seat like storage bag, as well as I think because you get a diaper bag free. So if you don't know if you're flying, at least domestically, they don't count your diaper bag as
Mm-hmm.
like a bag to bring on. And so she literally had her son had a backpack. She had the quote unquote diaper bag. Then she had her backpack. And then she had the car seat thing and didn't have to pay to bring luggage because she just shoved everything in wherever it needed to go.
Yep.
Um, Such a good tip, such a good hack. When you, what was the biggest worry for you going onto the plane? Because I know for me, all I had heard about flying with babies is stressing that they are sucking on something
Yeah.
during takeoff and landing.
Mm-hmm.
Where I can remember, like, the first flight that I took with Lincoln, he was still pretty little. Like, I would say he was 3 months, like,
Mm-hmm.
if not four, like, tiny.
Yep.
And I go to nurse him, and he nurses, and then he falls asleep, and we hadn't taken off yet. And I'm like freaking out because he doesn't take a binky or he doesn't take a bottle, and he like wouldn't latch anymore because he was like dead asleep. And I'm like, not in a bad way, but I'm like shaking him to like wake up, like latch to this thing. Like, I don't want to burst your eardrums, like, please.
Yep.
And like, you could tell I was like totally stressing. And I understand it's so it doesn't hurt their ears, and it's a way to help them. But that was probably my biggest fear in actually flying with him, was that his ears were going to get messed up. And realistically, it wasn't as big of a deal as I thought. He ended up being totally fine, and like I was able to get him to like suck a pacifier. Like, I brought one as an emergency. Um, but that was my biggest fear through the whole flight, was like, oh my gosh, is his ears going to be okay? Are his ears going to be okay? Like, what was like, I don't know. Did you experience that? Or your babies take bottles, so did you feed them during takeoff?
Yeah, so that's always a concern of mine. Like, no matter when we fly, I'm like making sure that they're sucking something. And so we've gotten strategic with it where like we don't feed them like, in the airport or like when we get onto the airplane, like we feed them like right when we're about to take off. So that way they're like hungry and want it. Um, and I would say that was a fear of mine. Another fear is like if they just lose it on the plane and I have two babies losing it. And I will say that one, if you are a twin mom, just know that you and your spouse get the entire row because there's only 4 masks in a row of 3 seats. So nobody can sit with you. So you get your personal space that way. Yeah.
Whoa. Do you
Perks
have
of
to
having
type
twins.
so when you register, because I don't know if you guys had to do this, like when I registered my ticket, I had to register Lincoln on my ticket as well.
Yep.
Since you each registered a baby, they clear the extra seat for you.
Yeah. Yep. They have to have that room. I mean, yeah. Like, honestly, also, what are you going to say to twin parents? Like, if, really? I might start bringing like candy. I saw like if you bring candy or something for the flight attendants, they're super nice. Luckily, we've been really fortunate with flight attendants, and the babies are at this cute age where like everybody's fawning over them. But yeah, that's a fear of mine, is like, will they lose it? And so we always go to the back of the plane, so that way, like, if like we need to like get up with them, we can like go to the back where like the flight attendants are, and usually they're totally fine with that as we're like bouncing them back to sleep, because for the most part they stay in the carrier through the flight.
Yeah.
um Luckily at this age we are taking them to Thailand in January of 2024, and
Fun.
that's
Wait,
going to
did
be
you just
unique.
plan that?
No, it's my stepmom's 50th birthday that we're going to be celebrating, so it's like the entire family's going out there. So the plane ride there, we will have help. The plane ride back, we're planning on extending the trip. And so that'll be unique because it'll just be Ian and I with the babies, and they'll be
And they'll
walking
be
at that
toddlers.
age,
Yeah, I was going to say they're going to be
walking,
toddlers.
talking. They'll be like super cute little tan babies running around. But anyways, so I mean they've lost it on the planes, but it's been like 5-10 minutes and then they like chill out. Um
But this
So,
is how I feel though about babies crying on a plane. Most of the people are so compassionate. Like most of the people have so much empathy for the parents because they know the parents are trying their best and they're doing everything they possibly can, and like they get it. The people who are upset about babies crying on the plane need to go to therapy because they hate other things in their life and they're taking it out on a child that can't speak.
it's
So that's
so
my thought on
funny.
that.
I saw a TikTok of this girl saying like people with babies shouldn't travel. She got reamed on TikTok. Reamed. Just obliterated. Um just cuz
Well,
it's like so like what are you going to do? I also have
yeah.
friends that, don't want kids and they choose not to travel during like summer breaks or like anything where there might be children traveling at a high capacity. They choose not to travel. I'm like, well, I mean, at least you
eh,
choose that. Like, if that's
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're a parent and you're listening to this and you've been like obviously you're probably a parent if you're listening to this. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's Jessica from Arkansas who's like 16 and just stumbled upon this. Hey, Jessica. Uh, but if you have like considered traveling, but you're really nervous about traveling because of these factors of like, oh my gosh, their ears or the packing's really scary, or um, is my child going to lose it? What is it like once you reach another place? I think the biggest thing going into it is understanding that there's going to be challenges in any aspect in any new environment, whether you
yep.
have a child or you don't have a child. Having a child, you're just going to have the ability to adapt a little bit more. So, like we talk about this a lot when we've talked about labor and postpartum and all this type of stuff. It's like, how can you fill your toolbox?
Mm-hmm.
So like
Mm-hmm.
things to travel right now, like for the age that Lincoln's at, that I would have in a toolbox for me is one, I would have like extra outfits in a Ziploc bag in a diaper bag for him. So, like, if he gets food all over him and stains or water or something happens, I could pull out a new outfit. I could put the dirty one in the Ziploc bag and I could be good to go. That's something I would totally have in my toolbox. Another thing I'd have in my toolbox is snacks upon snacks upon snacks, like puffs, applesauce, whatever, dried fruit, freeze dried fruit, whatever it may be, like stuff that could keep him entertained, happy, all of that. Um, to books, or I actually saw my mom actually was just talking about it, but sticky notes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they could pull them
Mm-hmm.
apart, they could stick them on, they could stick it on something else, they could stick just little things that could keep him busy. Is just like thinking like what would just how much you could equip yourself if something happens. Say your plane gets delayed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in your toolbox, maybe have an extra pair of jammies. Have everything they would need to have a comfortable sleep. Have that in your quote unquote, toolbox. Knowing like their carrier or whatever it may be, just so you're prepared. Because if things go flawless, then it's going to be a great experience. If something happens that's unpredictable, you're going to have tools that are going to help cope in the situation to still make the travel experience a great one. So I don't know, what tools would you put in your toolbox, Ari?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, I think what eased my mind with traveling with babies is there's so many resources on TikTok, on Instagram of like these moms that travel all over with their kids. And so you can pick up tidbits here and there from like what you're seeing with moms that are actively traveling. And so that is how I learned about the packing cubes. That's how I also learned about you can fly with breast milk, with formula, with a water bottle if you have babies. They're not going, like when you go through security, they're not going to take that stuff away from you. It does um it does matter, like you need to know your rights because sometimes the airport staff's new and they may try and like take it away, and you can actually say like, no, this is actually like legal for me to travel with this. You can travel with an ice pack, whatever it is, to keep that milk cold, because you're feeding your baby with that. So I mean, I got all of my toolboxes, like tools, um, from online, and just spending some time like seeing what was right for us. Because again, like some things are going to be right for you, some things are going to feel overboard. I know some people
Mm.
travel with the slumber pod. I'm not there yet.
Oh,
I
I've
don't know
seen
if I
that.
really need that. We threw a blanket over Harley's crib when she was like sleeping during the daylight and the room wasn't blacked out where we were. So, I think you find what works for you, and it's just going to be trial and error. I think something that also released me was like, you're traveling, you're out of your element. Things may not go like according to plan. It's okay. Like you can flex here and there, and then when you get back into your element, like you can like control that environment as well. But it's kind of just being able to like release control, and then control the thing or take over on the things that you can control.
Yeah. I think
Um,
no,
I was
it's
just
really
gonna,
good.
yeah, I was just gonna point them like if you guys are looking for some travel tips, we did do a little series on TikTok of travel tips, and I think even in there I showed my like a screen view of my packing list if you guys were interested.
Yeah. Honestly, Ari's a very organized gal. Things I appreciate about her. I like it. I'm a relaxed, organized galley. Galley girly. Um, I think one thing to kind of finish off talking about traveling with kids is just then once you're at your destination, what that's like. For me, the first day that both times that we had gone and visited my dad back home, Lincoln was not himself. Like, I don't know what was up with this kid, but like he usually is most happy, smiley, like, yeah, 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 baby. Like, that is so him. And the first day each time was just, he needed the extra comfort being in the new environment. He needed more hugs, more cuddles, um, needed to be always see me, always all like he just needed his eyes on me, which I just didn't think about because being here, I could literally hand Lincoln to a stranger and he would like hug him. Like Lincoln is just such a happy, open kid. And I realized that he just that change of environment really was a lot on him the first day. So now, whenever like I am going to go see my family, like we've talked about that first day just being like a chill, very relaxed kind of like land, get settled, all of that, and then do any big plans the next day where he's more rested, more acquainted with the environment. Because that was just difficult of like figuring out how we are going to get him to sleep and just different foods and that whole deal, which I just didn't think about. Like that was like, oh, like your grandpa and grandma, like he sees them every day on FaceTime. They've been down multiple times, but just being in their environment was a really just different shift and I could see he understood it. So it also made me think about too, like how can I verbally prepare Lincoln? I know they're
Mm,
babies, but I am like a firm believer is like they totally understand what we're saying.
yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't like thought super well into it, but I think next trip that we do, I'm gonna start sharing like, oh, you're gonna stay at your room at grandpa and grandma's. Like it's a different room, that special room that they have for you, and like start talking about the new environment so he's aware of it instead of just showing up and being like, all right, we're here, like enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
I
that, yeah.
it's funny that you say that cuz Ian and I used to do that when the babies were like newborns. We'd be like, "Okay, so this is what our day looks like. Like we're going to go here, here and here, and here we're going to do this and here we're going to do that." And we swore that that kept them like super chill, because if we didn't tell them what we were going to do and they were like they didn't know how to prepare mentally, they were 3 days old, something like that. they had a terrible time adjusting. And so I'm right there with you. We talk to them all the time. Like when we get them into their car seats, even now, like just on a normal day, we're like, we're going on an adventure. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go do this.
I love it.
Call us the weird parents, but you know what? It works. So
No, it's so good. Because I totally think they do understand. They do understand. I'm not going to go into it. They understand. And if
yeah.
you have science to prove me differently, put it in the notes or put it in the things. But I think there is something about like just preparing them mentally, whether they can cognitively respond to you or not. I think that helps a ton because I like to be prepared of where I'm going. I don't like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a
I mean,
surprise
even
woman.
bringing up Bebe, my favorite parenting book, they talked about when you bring the baby home from the hospital, you give them a tour of your house just like you would a stranger, or not. Not saying you're bringing strangers into your home, but guess.
Yeah,
So
it's so
I
good.
think there's a lot to be said with that. Anyways,
Were
this was
were your babies Mexico baby? Like, did they enjoy Mexico?
oh thoroughly. Thoroughly enjoyed Mexico. They were in the pool, they were in the ocean. Harley loved, I mean, guys, we were in Mexico, so, safety laws are a little bit different there. So when Harley cried a lot, like we just took her out of the car seat and she hung out with me in the back seat and she loved it. Like we even handed her to my friend who was in the very back, and Harley gave me this look like I know I'm doing something that I shouldn't be, but I'm enjoying it. And it was so cute. Graham crashed so hard just in the middle of our king size bed for a nap for 2 hours, which never happens again. He's a carrier nap baby.
Oh
We
wow.
had like a chef come to the house, and she like loved on them. They got to eat black beans all smashed up on their face. They got to eat guacamole with no jalapenos. That's another story. And they like Graham was like our spirit animal in the pool. He was just like kicking his little legs, living it up. We got them a little
Oh,
twin floaty so they could just float next to each other.
so cute.
Ugh, they loved it. We loved it. We're going back in October for a wedding, and hopefully we can go back sooner. But yeah,
That's so
they
fun.
we think that they are travel babies. They are like we took them to a resort one time just like as a staycation. This is when they were really little, and okay, we'll wrap up after this, but we the first night that we got there like a little bit later, so we did in-room dining. And this is when they were still sleeping in their dock dots. Well, the darkest area of the room and where we could shut them off so we could like eat, we put their dock tots in this nice bathroom on the floor. And we ate our dinner. Like the kids are very adaptable. Like when we took them to the pool, they were loving it. So,
I love
yeah,
it.
I think seeing
Well,
that is what makes the inconveniencing of traveling so worth it.
oh, 100%. And I think your and I's lifestyles were very much so we want to explore. We want our kids to see different countries, different cultures. So traveling with them as babies was inevitable, and we know it's going to even adapt more as they get older. I even think about things that my mom did to make traveling special. So in high school, I traveled a lot for sports. In Idaho, since there's not a lot of other competition, we would go to the neighboring states like Washington, Oregon, Utah, Montana, Wyoming a lot. And every flight, my mom would always buy me my favorite candy, a new pack of gum, and this also shocks me, but she would buy me a Cosmo magazine, Cosmopolitan magazine,
Whoa.
and 17 magazine, which if you think about it, I'm like, I can't believe it was I just don't think my mom knew. Like, there's no way she knew what a Cosmo magazine was to give
Oof.
like a 15-year-old a Cosmo magazine.
I don't know because that was like the age where I was reading them.
Right?
So I don't know who was buying them for me, but yeah, interesting. I didn't think about that. There's a lot of things of our childhood that like really great things. like, I know my mom listens to this, so really great things. And then some other things I'm like, wow. I don't think
Oh,
Graham and Harley will be doing that, but there will be
no.
other things. That's what's crazy is like as like we grow as a society, there will be other things that we aren't even aware of that they
Oh
get
I
into.
know, which is crazy. Like one of the things that shocks me, I know we're on a bunny trail on this topic, but I shared iTunes with my mom and I had like Tech Nine, 303, like some deep rap, like all that type of stuff. And I'm like, either she doesn't listen to music or she just knows and like isn't saying anything. Like, I am so shocked.
I mean, just think about
Oh.
it. I was singing Britney Spears in elementary school at a talent show. Hit Me Baby One More Time should not be sung by an elementary school kid.
But she
I
was
don't,
an icon back then, which is crazy.
yeah. So,
Which,
I don't
yeah,
know.
it's gonna be crazy when our kids. I don't know. We'll go into this topic on another podcast. But Ari and I, for the neighborhoods that we live in, we are looking other places than public school. We know every neighborhood's different, every state's different, every county's different. But the neighborhoods we live in, the school system isn't the best, and so we're looking into alternative ways.
What's
And that's even
interesting
why
is it is like some of the best schools, but I still just don't.
education wise, but maybe not
Yeah.
culture wise,
Yeah.
because even
I think we have to define that. Maybe we
yeah,
just save this for another conversation
yeah,
and we'll
we'll
talk
say we'll
school.
do one thing, we'll do a school podcast, but we'll also talk about things that were in our childhood versus what our kids will experience, because we grew up in an age. I didn't get my first cell phone till, oh, it's my mom coughing. I thought it was Lincoln. I didn't get my first cell phone till middle school.
Yep.
And
7th grade.
then I remember when I got, and that was still texting with T9,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
you knew like how to text like underneath
Oh,
your desk.
yeah. I had a flip phone. Like, I thought it was cool because I had one of those phones that you could like throw anywhere and it like wouldn't break. And then the whole Razor came out, and it's like, you got a Razor or not, you
Or
know?
a sidekick.
Oh, see, I missed the Sidekick because I had just gotten
I
the Razor.
2 years to upgrade.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly. Yes. You know.
All right,
Um,
guys. Well, we love you. This has been. If you guys have tips on traveling as like the babies get older, this is one thing I'm going to put out there because Jamie's going to get into the cringy part. So if you choose to leave a comment, I would love to hear how you travel car seat wise with toddlers, because right now we just switched our baby's car seats from the infant car seats that click traveled. We had the Nuna Pippa RX. It was just super easy to now we have like a big ass one. I don't know
like
why
a
I feel
heavy
weird about
load, okay?
a heavy load, a dump truck. No, I'm just kidding. And I don't want to travel with that one. So do we rent? Can you trust the rentals? Are they clean? What is it like? How much is it? Just if you could put that in the comments, that'd be great. Now, Jamie, take us away with the cringe.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for staying on to listen to the cringiness. But we're really trying to get you guys some cool resources with the collective and this podcast. In order to do so, we need you guys to please like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a little review. Even if it's just like a thumbs up emoji, that would help us a ton. Um, if we're talking about community, this is stuff that like heart beats for. If you're looking for mom friends, mom community, and you're like, I want to have conversations like this, like I don't have anyone to talk about this with, we are the Mom Walk Collective. We host walks all across the US. On March 1st, we're launching an additional, looks like 35 cities. So we're going to be in over 150 cities across the US and Canada. We have a website. Go to momwalkcollective.com. Go to the city finder, type in your zip code, and you will find a city near you. If you are looking for those new cities, they will not be posted until March 1st. So if you don't see one now, look March 1st. we'll have those new cities on there. We will be launching new cities on the first of every month. We also have our Instagrams, TikToks. We have a newsletter that talks about deals that we do with big national sponsorships. So if you're looking for fun resources that way, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. Other than that, Ari, any fun things?
We love you guys, and we will be back next week.
We love you, Mama.
Love you, Mama.